So we're with Chris Mullett. Chris is the CEO and president of Burlington United Methodist Family Services, and wanted to chat today as they are our Pennies for Mission offering for the month of February. And Chris, thanks for being with us. And would you just tell us maybe a little bit, kind of your 30-second elevator speech of what Burlington's all about?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for making us the beneficiary of your February mission offering. And so Burlington has been around for so long, and I think for a lot of people, they still think of it in terms of Burlington Children's Home, and because that's how it started, and it was a great start. It was the Star of Hope Child Refuge, starting in 1913 in just a single house at Burlington, West Virginia, a little wide place along Route 50, and then developed the campus there. So then there were 3 cottages, 30 kids, developed a school, a chapel, and then started getting into community-based services. So started branching out into foster care and adoption, and then right from the start to serve families, particularly around childbirth, and then parents as teachers to help parents after childbirth, and safe at home to provide services that would keep children from having to go into residential care, to provide those services in their homes. And then we got into addiction recovery work. So 6 years ago, the Staggers family donated their dad's house after he passed, and we've turned that into a long-term 12 to 18 month program for addiction recovery for women. And the unique thing about that program is that they're able to bring children with them, and so that they can, so the children don't go into state's custody while mom's getting better, and that's been remarkably successful. So much so that that we are building a new one, and so we're going to go from having 19 beds to having about 40 beds by summer. So we've got construction going on, and during the late 80s, we added the campus in Beckley. So we've got we had, I think there were 2 cottages initially there, 20 kids, and then they added a 3rd cottage, and then we bought a house off campus there. So there's 39 children housed in that region around Beckley. There's a house for small children near Moorfield for 5 to 10-year-olds. And so, the variety of work that Burlington does across the state is just remarkable to me. I've been CEO for 2 years, and it's just really hard to take it all in. Just out of your own church, we have 3 women who work there, and they do targeted case management. So, they're keeping people in their homes and making sure they have the materials they need, the support services that they need, so that they don't become institutionalized. And it's wonderful. I cannot imagine an agency that is more fulfilling for me personally, and that I think is really good for the state of West Virginia and for Western Maryland. We, it truly is remarkable. And the thing that really kind of settled at home with me when I started looking at this job opportunity for myself was that Burlington has grown and changed its programs and offerings as the region has changed. So when addiction became such an issue, Burlington responded to that. Foster care became such an issue, Burlington responded to that. And it reminded me that Jesus often would say to people, "What can I do for you?" One of the most bizarre things to me is that Bartimaeus is blind. He's sitting by the side of the road. Jesus passes him by, and he cries out, and the disciples try to shut him up, and he cries out louder, and Jesus says, "Just bring him to me." And Jesus doesn't heal him of his blindness immediately. He asks him what he wants. And so I think that that's where we are as Burlington. We look at our area and the places we serve, and we say, what do you need from us? We feel like we are servants of God in that way, and representatives of Christ, and he asks, "What can I do for you?" And that's what we feel called to do.
That's awesome. appreciate you highlighting too. We often think of Burlington just at the West Virginia, but there is that work in Western Maryland here. And,
Yeah.
the full array of services is just impressive when you look at that, because we do often think just the Burlington home side of it, but so much more that
Yeah.
you're doing. And
We actually have 27 locations in 22 different counties
wow.
and employ 320 people. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, it's not just that Burlington campus part so much that is,
no,
yeah, making a difference throughout the whole area. And so we're thankful for that. So you could ask the question that Jesus says is, what can we do for you? What would you say if a local church asks you, what could we do for you as a local church as a whole, as members of the local church?
Well, so a couple of things. One is, if you want to do something kind of really big together as take on one of those big audacious goals. I spoke at Main Street United Methodist in Petersburg this summer, and they asked the same question. And I said, well, we're building this new recovery house and we need bedrooms to be sponsored. And it's $5,000 to put all of the furnishings and to get everything up and running for that bedroom. And so, they had a yard sale and did some other fundraising things, and they came up with $5,000. And when they did, another family in the church that really, has a heart for addiction recovery said, we'll match it. So that church is doing 2 rooms, which is remarkable. So if you want to do something huge like that, absolutely. Raise $5,000. We'll put a plaque on a door and just be eternally grateful, because there's going to be people coming and going out of that door that are going to get well from their addiction, and we're thrilled about this new project. So Hope Meadows is one option if you want to do something like that. I think one thing that we really struggle with is foster care. Support for foster care. We that's an area of our ministry in which we lose money, but we do it because it's the right thing to do, even though the state of West Virginia doesn't reimburse us enough to support it fully. We do that. So helping us to promote the idea of foster care. And if somebody is a Maryland resident, they would need to do foster care in Maryland, and they couldn't use Burlington. But we don't care. Like, there are so many thousands of children in need of loving homes. And so just taking that first step to have the conversation, like, what would that look like for us? Like, what would it look like for us to open our home and to take in a child? It's an enormous issue everywhere that addiction is flourishing. Foster care numbers are just off the charts. West Virginia's numbers have doubled in the last 10 years. And I'm guessing that would be the same thing for Allegheny and Garrett counties in Maryland, because it's the same, we're the same region, we're Appalachia, and that's what's going on. And so, in fact, I know in Allegheny County, I know of a set of parents, young parents last fall, who both died of overdoses and have left 3 children in the system. I'm a CASA volunteer in Allegheny County, and my first CASA case was 2 of the children, two of many children who were taken from a mother because of her addiction. And so that's an enormous commitment. That's a life-changing thing. But isn't that what we're called to, right? Isn't it what we're called to? So that's a huge issue. I think one of the things, as far as our campus ministry goes at Burlington, there's a United Methodist Church, Reese Chapel, in New Creek, West Virginia, that has kind of really taken the girls' cottage under their wing. And really, they are so involved, and the girls go there to church, and they just make sure those girls have what they need. And we don't really have that across the board. Like, there are aspects of our ministry that could really use a church to say, you know what, this is our target. We want to minister to the kids in this house. So there's a boys' house called Mill Meadow that's in Kaiser, and there's a transitional living house in Kaiser, and there's a boys' house on the campus, and and all of those, and there's a girls' house in Kaiser, and all of those could really use the body of Christ to come around and make sure that those kids have what they need and that they're connecting with healthy people outside of their own family circle, outside of our ministry, so they have someplace to go, right? I mean, a lot of these kids are going to time out of the system at 18 and have zero connections. And about 40% of the kids who time out of state's custody within 18 months, 40% of them are homeless. And so I'd really, to have a church where they know, oh, I know a handful of people in Oakland. I could go there and get a job. Otherwise, they're just kind of floating. Like, where do I go? I don't have a home. There isn't anywhere for me to be. And it's, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so to have, a local church that would become home for some kids is really critical. And y'all aren't that far away.
Yeah, that's true.
I think your church is only about 35 minutes from my house.
Yeah,
I just live at the bottom of the mountain near Westernport.
Oh yeah, you're not far.
I actually live in Maryland. Yeah,
you're one of the Marylanders, so that's good.
Yeah, I am. So my earliest years growing up, I lived in Hagerstown, and I've always felt like Maryland was home in a lot of ways. I love Maryland.
Yeah, we're always used to be in the Garrett County, Maryland, when we do anything.
Right.
So that's cool.
Well, I'm with you. I'm in Allegheny County, but it's I could probably hit a golf ball to Garrett County
from here to get
to the top of Savage Mountain. Savage Mountain is right in my backyard.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as you're looking and you're coming out of the pandemic, I'm sure there's been some challenges that you faced there, and hopefully we're, maybe making progress, or at least facing whatever our new normal after that is. What kind of dreams and visions do you have for moving Burlington forward, and how could we be in prayer for that?
Yeah. So one of the big things is that we're going to go to the U.S. Senate soon. They're going to open up kind of the supplementary budget process. And West Virginia happens to be the only state in the union that has both of its senators on the Appropriations Committee. And so hopefully we'll have 2 votes going in. But we want to expand our addiction recovery services. We're building, of course, we will soon have our second house for women, and we're doing great with that. Every judge in our region loves us, loves what we do. All of our parole officers love us that are working with the ladies. The federal judge down in Clarksburg recently came up and visited our center, and he was thoroughly impressed. And so, we're going with a lot of support to our senators to say, we feel like we've done a lot with very little support. We lose money on our recovery work. We lost about $100,000 2 years ago. This last year, we only lost 35. So we're moving in the right direction. So we're going to go to them and ask for $1.5 million to fund this second house because we're really taking it on the chin building it with all the construction delays and increase in support in costs of materials. And then we want to build a men's house, probably a little further out in the Eastern Panhandle. And maybe down in Beckley. There's some folks asking for a house down there. And because the reason there's so much pressure on our residential service and on our foster care and adoption services and our safe at home services is because of addiction, right? That's 95% of the kids in care are being taken mostly for neglect. And the reason for the neglect is mom and dad, mom or dad or both, have substance abuse disorder and are not able to care for their children. And so we are trying to kind of cut that off at the knees, right? And deal, instead of, it's the old waterfall thing, if you're going to pull people out of the river below the waterfall, you can keep pulling people out of the river, and we need to do that. But eventually you got to send somebody upriver to find out who's throwing them in. And so addiction is the source. And if we can be a source of healing for that, then I feel like that's the direction we need to go.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the possibility of a grant to start a thrift store where the ladies who are in recovery can work. An awful lot of them have never had a job. They've never worked at all because they've been on drugs, been selling drugs, been incarcerated. And so to learn job skills, really important. And so we're looking at the possibility of a thrift store that could help to make up some of the financial loss that we take annually, but also just really give them the job skill training that they need. So we're looking at doing that. And we just want to keep pushing with foster care. Currently, we have about 125 kids that we manage in foster care, and we just need more homes. We have done more advertising. We have spent a ton of money over the last year trying to reach people with the message of foster care and to get them to go through the lengthy process. And it's just a hard sell. It really is. It's so life-changing. And so, we really need to double our numbers or triple our numbers in foster care because right now kids in West Virginia, and this also is true for Western Maryland, kids get sent out of state because there aren't enough homes. They're just, the percentage of kids being taken in throughout Appalachia is the highest anywhere in the United States. West Virginia leads the nation per capita. Well, actually, we're second to Alaska in the per capita number of kids that are taken from their homes by the state. And so we have this huge percentage of children, relatively speaking, being taken from homes and then in need of foster care or residential treatment. But at the same time, because of the huge numbers of people who are in active addiction, we have a very low pool of people that are eligible to do foster care. And we have, the Appalachian region has the lowest workforce percentage. So if you're, if a mom, there's a single mom raising a child, doing a great job, great mom, great parenting skills, but living on public assistance, she's ineligible to be a foster parent. Now, I'm talking to the state about that because I think it's crazy. Kill two birds with one stone, right? Make her whole by adding a couple children to her household and paying her for it. She's a great mom. Why it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. But we don't have a lot of, so we have the highest percentage of people in foster care and the lowest percentage of available houses. And so what that means is we have kids in state custody from our region that are living in Florida, Georgia, Illinois, and our caseworkers from Garrett County, from Mineral County, have to go visit that child where they are once a month. Now that's a crazy misuse of resources. But because we don't have local folks doing it, that's the cost. And those kids, foster care is always about reunification initially. And so you take a kid out of state and they can't see family. What's the chances? So it's a mess. This addiction issue's got the world turned upside down. And, it's crazy to me. The folks from Purdue Corporation that made billions of dollars off of oxycodone and hydrocodone, they've been sued and they've lost a lot of money, but most of them are still living pretty high on the hog. And, the guys in suits and lab coats went to Aruba for sales bonuses while, some poor kid down on the block that sold three joints ends up incarcerated.
Right.
One is causing an epidemic, the other is not. And it's just crazy to me that that's kind of where we are with this whole issue around drugs and addiction. But so I don't know if that answers your question or not, but we want to pour ourselves fully into that
addiction side. It is that it's the whole process, both, the prevention and then helping those that are in addiction and then responding to the needs of the families and the children that have been impacted. So it's the whole cycle of that I'm sure is a major focus that you have to be thinking about. And I'm sure that probably is the number one driver for the children that end up probably in your area
Absolutely.
and
Yeah. It's
under
not,
your care in whatever ways that is.
yeah, it's the number one source, and number two isn't close.
Yeah. So,
I don't even know what number two is.
yeah. So that would be the way to go. But yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to highlight for local church that you would like us to know or like to make sure you get out there?
I guess the other thing that we're doing or looking at doing is that is the issue of homelessness among kids that are timing out. There are some new federal programs available. There's only one agency in our region doing it. So we are taking a look at what it would require of us, and is it feasible to start a program where we provide housing with wraparound case management, so that 18-year-old who walks out of foster care with no connections has a caseworker, a place to live, encouragement towards schooling or trade school, job coaching, all those kind of things. So we're taking a look at that. And I guess I would just like to reiterate that that's who Burlington is, that Jesus said, "What can I do for you?" And that's what we're going to keep doing. And when we see and hear the state or our region saying, "This is what we need from you," we're going to do everything that we can do to figure out strategically how to do it. And we currently do 3 programs that lose money.
Yeah.
But it's because it needed done. Nobody else was doing it. And so we figured it out. And our child advocacy center in Kaiser was the same way when it started. It lost money. Now we're grant funded, so it's a break even proposition. But we serve 5 counties in West Virginia with our child advocacy center that's in Kaiser, and we have offices in Petersburg and Romney, with where the ladies travel to interview and counsel children. But so we're that child advocacy center deals with kids that have been sexually abused primarily, and the lady who directs that has conducted over 1,100 forensic interviews with children who have been abused, and I don't even understand how she does it. But again, I think that's the kind of people we have at Burlington. That's the commitment. It's remarkable to me every day what I see our people doing, from big things to little things. I caught our campus custodian the other day helping out with a school project, and she got down on her knees and had her hand on the shoulder of this little boy and was talking to him just so gently and lovingly. And I just thought, that's what this is about right there. It's just, our custodian.
Yeah. It takes everyone on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. And honestly, we couldn't do what we do without churches like yours. Like there isn't any way that we could afford all of the office space that we have all over the region without folks like you. So
with office space, and I know for years there's been involvement, of course, with we've had a booth festival. I think that was something that to collect items for Burlington. That was with our cooperative parish, and I think we've also done a lot of work with the apple harvest and all that. So
that's awesome.
People past couple of years have been challenged for apple harvest, not just because of the pandemic, but also I believe you had a fire there on campus.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's interesting.
But the building we now have because of the fire is amazing. Like, great. Just really, I'm hope I need to talk to the apple harvest folks. I'm not sure that we will even this year. It's doubtful that we will be able to have it on our campus this year. So I'm tired of not having it. We're either going to have it or not have it. So maybe we just need to go to a offsite location There's a spot in Burlington that I think would be great for it. And will it be the same? No, it won't be the same, but lots of things aren't the same.
Yeah. Things change and evolve as over
Right.
time. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but new things can happen through all that too.
absolutely.
So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank you so much for your time today, and
Yeah, thank you.